What's up, guys? Welcome back. Vaporology. Got another review for you. Today we're taking a look at the Goliath from Youde Technology. Gotta say, I've been rocking this for a few days now, and I love it, man. I got the Goblin. I've done a review on that in the past. We're gonna compare the two. I'm gonna talk about it, break it down, show you all the bits and pieces. Okay, so first off, I want to talk a little bit about the Goblin. Obviously, most of you guys are probably familiar with this one right now. Very popular in the market. Awesome RTA, puts out great flavors. Well, the Goliath is kind of Youde's next offering in that line of thinking, I guess. But a little disappointing in the capacity, as this is only 4 mils. However, you can get it plumb full, and I really do like the overall design of the Goliath. And to give you kind of my thoughts and review here first, then I'm going to break it down and show you everything. So if you look at the airflow, the Goliath is much smaller than the Goblins. Quite a bit so. But when you look at the top, or the chimney size, the chimney on the Goliath is much larger than the Goblin. And I find the draw on the Goliath is, I don't know, it might be a little bit more restricted than the Goblin, but it's different. It feels different in the way it delivers vapor, just in the difference in the size of the chimney. It feels really good. I do like it. If you like your orchids and that sort of thing, you'll love this thing. Like, I'm coming from a Goblin, and I think I do like the Goliath a bit better, to be honest. It's my style of vaping. I'm not a crazy chain vapor. I'm not out there looking for the biggest clouds. I'm looking for the most flavor and just an average, 50-watt build. I'm not going to rock 150 watts on this thing. I want something I can use throughout the day, and I don't have to fill it up every 5 minutes. So I built a pretty big setup. I wanted to see what was the largest coil I can get in here. We're going to compare the build decks here in a second. And the way that this Goliath is set up, the build deck is a little bit smaller than the Goblin, which was kind of disappointing as well, because this was already fairly small. I did manage to fit 3mm coils in here, though. And I like the way the two-post design. It makes it so much easier. You can actually pull the coils up into the center of the two posts to kind of bring them in a bit from the side. So it does give you a bit more freedom on the build deck, not having the center post there. And I do like that design. I've always been a big fan of two posts, and I don't get why they do the 4-post for dual coil 4-post design. Well, you only need 2 posts to do a dual coil or quad coil if you can get them in there, right? You just need a negative and a positive. So let's break them down and see what we got here. I've been vaping this thing for a couple days, and the flavors are phenomenal. I've been rocking out my got the Freemax Star on here right now, and this thing is amazing as well. But the Goliath delivers flavors unparalleled to any of the other rebuildable tank style setups I've used, besides the Goblin. And the Goblin, with its larger tank section on there, actually does have a slightly, I think it's 0.2 mil higher capacity than this one. But to be honest, I don't know. They're the same. They're close enough, in my opinion. But it'd be so easy for them to add an extension piece for the chimney. If you look at that little piece in the middle right there and there, that comes out. So all they would need to do is give you that piece and a new glass piece, and you could extend this to a 10 mil tank if you wanted to. Make it the freaking Goliath XL. Right? And it is a big tank already, and it doesn't really have any extra added juice capacity. But the juice control, I gotta say, I love this function. It is very tight. It's quality feel. It's not loose at all. To the right, like that, righty-tighty, it's off. To the left, it's open. When the device is laying on the side or in your pocket and stuff like that, even if you don't have a good build going on, so your wicking is horrible inside, well, you can just close the juice flow off and it will never leak. Love that design. You can also vary it depending on the build. So I'm going to go ahead and clean all my fluid out of here, break it down, and we'll show you all the nitty-gritty details. Okay, so here we are. It's all taken apart into its pieces, and we're going to break it down. So if you look at the left here, this is the Goblin, and this is the Goliath. So if you look at the airflow holes that are going into the build deck here, come on, autofocus on. No. So you can see the Goliath is on the right and the Goblin is on the left. The Goblin is slightly larger. There's no doubt about that. I'm sorry about that. Walkie-talkie's on in the background, of course, right? I have to just go off right at this particular moment. So the one thing though, even though the Goblin has bigger air intake holes, the chimney, if you look, this is the main tube section for the chimney on the Goliath, and this is the Goblin. The chimney size on the Goliath is much larger, so you really need to try them side by side to really understand what I'm talking about, but the differences is very minor. And the way that the Goliath is set up, it almost makes the draw a little easier by having this increased diameter on the chimney. I found the flavors are great, nice pillowy white clouds. You know, everybody like, oh, I'll show you how it vapes, and they all want to show me how it vapes. Well, when you're blowing clouds with any device, you know, I could make some crazy clouds happen with a CE4 and some 100% pure VG juice. You know, so like, people are blowing clouds and they're comparing, looking at the size of the cloud. Well, I could make crazy clouds with any device. So to me, that's very unreliable way of showing how a device works. Every device can blow big clouds if you use high VG juice. So there's a lot of parts here, as you can see. So I'll break it down, and I'm gonna assemble the Goliath for you. Looking at the parts, they're actually quite interesting how this is all machined together and how it works. It's a very nice fitment. Everything is just perfectly machined. I've had no problems with mine. It feels like a very high quality unit, and I've had no issues in the week or so that I've been running this. Interesting setup, the way it works. This is the base of the chimney. So this is basically what goes over top of your build. So that's what limits you a little bit. You have to keep your coils inside of this diameter, but I've had no problem because of the fact that you have this opening here. You can kind of bring them up a little bit and squish them in there. I fit 3 mils in there without too much of a problem. I think that's probably about the max you can go though, 3 mil, which isn't a bad size. That's, you know, it's good enough for me. So basically this is your juice well, or I don't know what the hell you call that. So let's assemble it. The base of the unit, this is the juice well. This whole unit detaches to allow for filling. So if you look at this, it's got this notched out section. This pops in from the bottom, and when you lock everything together, it's what holds it all down. But this is the top part of your chimney. This screws into here. Now this piece here is the juice flow control portion of the unit. So this locks in, and if you look at the bottom of it, it's got this is the guide, and there's a pin right there. So that's what allows it to flow back and forth. So you can close and open the airflow. So it's kind of set up. So you just drop it in just like so, making sure that you're keeping the bottom pushed up, because this thing can still come loose, right? Until you get it screwed together. O-ring on the bottom, glass goes in. O-ring on the top. The top's got that little lip too, which makes it nice. And this just threads in. So you need to make sure that your O-rings seat properly. Found they're nice and tight. It's a very nice fit. And that's it. So you torque it down. Keep tightening. I might have that chimney backwards, it looks like, or the O-ring's not sitting right in there. I'm gonna have to check that out. I think I might have that tube in there backwards. Okay, so I did have it backwards. So just to show you again, just to make sure that you understand this part. When you see the bottom, and then when you get your unit, you'll notice there is, it looks like machine oil all over it. It's not. They actually test these for leaks at the factory, so they do fill them with VG. So they don't actually rinse them right clean, so you'll notice a bit of VG on the inside. Just rinse it out. So you see that little trench there and that pin. You need to line those up when you drop it in. And just check that this spins properly. If you look at the bottom here and it's closed, it should open right up, just like so. See that? So make sure that that is correct before you drop your glass in. I had that little piece of the chimney on backwards, so this whole section just slides up. And do this before you put the glass in, but you'll spin it and there's that little section that will pop in there. Oh, of course, now I just messed it all up. Okay, so after you get that centered properly, just follow that steps I showed you there. Just do it slow, and nothing will pop loose on you. Once you start threading this top section together, if I can get it without this piece falling out on me. So you spin this until it pops up there like that. There she goes. I've only done this a few times, so there you go. So that is your assembled juice chamber. So you can close it, open it, and that's how you fill right through those holes. And you can get it plumb full, which I absolutely love. You can throw it on there and there's not even a bubble in that tank. It does last quite a while too. So when you screw that on, you see that little lip on the bottom. When you open it, that whole little lip fills up with juice and brings it up to the top of those little juice wells there. So you want to make sure you have your wicking material packed into these little L's here. And they kind of end right at the bottom. You don't want to have any packed down in here at all. You want it to stop right up in here. So I'll do a small build and throw it back together. Have a toot on it. And we'll give it a fill. So it's really easy to fill. And that's the part I love about this thing is when if you're on the go or whatever, you just close the juice flow off. Unscrew the whole juice well. Flip it over. Open it again. Pump it full of juice. And then you can just either drop the juice well back and close it and put it back on, however you want to do it. But it is really easy. You don't have any wasted juice. If you have a problem with your build, you can easily adjust it or change your cotton without having to drain the tank. And I think that is a big plus. Also, the way they designed that top cap, it's kind of a slope design, so any condensation buildup tends to run back down into the build deck, which stays out of your mouth. So overall, I like this guy. You know, if you're into it for the clouds, particularly, I don't see much of a difference in the airflow between the two, to be honest. They're very close. The Goblin has a little bit more, maybe. Slightly larger build deck as well, but it's such a minor difference. And you can see one of my pins is obviously broken off on this guy. I didn't even talk about that. I'm trying to warranty this guy right now. Don't know what the hell happened. Thing came off flush. It looks like it's machined flat on the bottom, like it just pulled right out of the build deck or something. It's weird. But anyway, let's get to her. Okay, I got her built. I'm not going to run through all that. Kind of a speed build. I'll tell you what I did here. 7 wraps, 2.5 mils at 26 gauge wire. I'll burn it in. We'll show you what it finals out at. This is probably about a perfect build for this guy right in there. I went with 3 mil build last time, similar to this, and I liked it. So I'm hoping this maybe might give it a bit more airflow, just having the smaller coils and more room to move. So the one thing you can definitely see with this is a Goblin, whatever, juice well, I guess you'd call it. It fits right over and doesn't even touch the threads. So it's not much bigger, but just a bit. So when you're building this, you need to make sure that it does not touch the sides at all. So it's very easy to just kind of pop it in there and you can feel if it's touching or not. And that would be it. So I'm just going to burn it in, wick it up. I'll show you how we do that. Pretty straightforward, really easy. And the building on this thing, I love it. The 2-post setup, it makes it so much easier. Just take both your coils. Once you got one figured out like the first time, you'll kind of know how long to leave the legs. And you just clip them both, put them both in on one, crank them down, put them both, crank them down. So easy, I find. Or else you put one coil in, tighten it up, get it where you want it, flip it around, you undo one, you put the other coil in, tighten it up, undo the other one, put the other coil in, tighten it up, and it works very easy to do it that way as well, because you can kind of... Anyway, you can do that however you want, but these 2-post setups, I much prefer them over a 4-post. I find it's way easier to center the coils, you're not fighting with it. Yeah, big fan. Okay, so I got her up on top of the IPV. Ooh, too much watts there. Let's see what we got. Let's take her down. It says it's 0.54 on there. Similar to where I thought it would be. I was hoping around a 0.5, so this will be about a 0.6, I think, burned in. So about 20 watts. And see how that goes. Oh, where's my pliers? So for me, I'll let them get nice and hot. I'm almost a little underpowered here, but I'd rather be underpowered. Give them a little squish. Oh. Just bonked it over. Of course, had to land right on the coil. Just gonna straighten this one out a bit better. Make sure it's not touching that center post at all, or it will pop on you. Nice even heat, just what you want to see. So I'm happy with that. Just give the posts just a tiny little turn just to make sure that they stay tight. They like to expand and contract when you heat them up like that, so the wires just need to be hit again with a bit more tension, and there we go, perfect. So again, I'm going to be using Cellu cotton. I find in all my tanks this stuff is just gold. So easy to work with too. Got a couple pieces. And this stuff's almost the right size you need for this. 3 mils is like perfect. So I'm just going to split a bit off here. Let's see if I can make this work. Okay, so that was perfect just like it was. Just pull it in a bit. Hold the coil so it doesn't go sideways. If you want to kind of spin it a bit to get it a bit tighter, you can do that. And right there is perfect. So cut that off. I'll leave them a bit long to start here. I will be cutting off more than that. And we'll do the other side exactly the same. Okay, so I got it wicked up. Not evenly, I might add. Now, the whole trick with this one here is to cut them on an angle. Just allows more to be down near the bottom where you want it, and not at the top where it's kind of not doing you much good. So, just make sure they're separated because they do like to get tangled up sometimes. Okay, so just cut them on an angle. Kind of like so. Okay, so I've got it all cut properly. And if you, it's kind of hard to do this on camera, but you want it to come right to the bottom of that well, but not to pack the bottom in. Like, it's got to just sit to the top. So let's just push it all down and then cut off the long edge. I kind of come up from the bottom and just kind of clip it around. So you can test fit as you go. And that's going to be about perfect. I can tell right there. It fit in there just nicely. You look around, you can see the wicking material where it needs to be. And that will work good. So just make sure that the coils aren't packed down over your airflow, and you want to make sure that you have adequate material to fill in all the way up to the top of that well there. So pretty straightforward, but it's awesome. Like, this thing actually does produce flavors. I think it might be better than the Goblin, depending on how you vape. I'm kind of a lung hitter, but not a full out. Like, I kind of half and half it. It's kind of hard to explain, but I find that the flavors are awesome. The pillowy, thick, dense clouds. And it doesn't take a whole lot of power. Like, this thing's happy around 50, 40, 50 watts, you know? Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and saturate this up. And this is kind of where you can, push the wicking material down into the spot where you want it there. And it's like perfect, just like that. It's pretty straightforward, guys. You just rock this out real quick, and then I'm going to fill this tank up and show you how easy that is. That's probably my favorite feature of this tank, is how easy it is to fill up. I really didn't like the bottom, having to take the screw out every time and pack a screwdriver around with you if you had your Goblin on the go. I ended up just filling it from the top, which was dangerous, and I'd have it blow up on me once in a while. I'm a big fan of these top fill tanks for sure. It's the way they should all be designed. So that's good. Got that saturated. Now here's the tank. So let's fill this guy up. Alright, you just make sure that you've opened it up so it vents nice. Just grab your bottle. Pump her in. I haven't actually measured the capacity. They say it's 4 mil. I'd like to actually measure it and make sure that it is, or maybe it's a bit more. So at this top little section, just go slow. You'll see it come up the other air hole on the other side, and there you go. Stuffed full. So there won't even be an air bubble in there. So before I'm going to put it on my device, I'm just going to make sure, or before I put it all together, I'm going to make sure this fires correctly. Yep. Okay. Okay, so I just tightened it up. Just dropped the build deck back on there and tightened her up. And the first time, or like when you screw the build deck down, once you filled it, make sure there's no extra juice just sitting on the top there, or when you screw this down, it's all going to squish out. And then you got your airflow control ring, pops on the bottom. Oh, upside down, of course. And there she goes. So altogether, she looks great. I love the control ring there. So this is yeah, so I closed it. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. So let's get it up on the device and have a puff. Show you how she blows. Alright, so she burned in at 0.48. Perfect, where I wanted it. So this guy, let's see here. That's a little too hot. Ramp it up. Always ramp them up. Let them sit for a few minutes before you start trying to pull huge water. So you can see there's not even an air bubble in there. So I really like how you can just stuff that tank plumb full. You know, I gotta say, 45 watts, I didn't even feel like it was near its potential. So I'll take it up a bit more. Nice pillowy thick clouds, I gotta say. Flavor wise, this thing is phenomenal. If you're looking for new RTA that looks good, quality made for the most part. They usually take care of you. That's the reason we buy these authentics, right? So I thank you guys for watching the video. Go ahead, hit the thumbs up for me. Questions, comments, love to hear from you guys. Make it cloudy for me, my friend. Keep calm. Vape on.